Welcome to Key Concept 3.1 Expansion and Intensification of Communication and Exchange Networks WAP Crash Course video. The first network that we have is the Silk Road Network. The trade network continued to put its focus on luxury goods such as silk, but it was also able to diffuse important technologies such as paper and gunpowder. However, by 600 CE, many of the empires that supported the Silk Roads had fallen, such as China, India, and Rome, and the trade routes fell with the empires. The Mongol Empire and the Abbasid Caliphate that later came actually revitalized the Silk Roads. The Mongol Empire was at the peak of the Silk Roads' performance as they conquered the Abbasid Caliphate, and they imposed laws that gave very good protection to the merchants traveling on those routes. The next network that we have is the Mediterranean trade routes. The Roman Empire fueled this trade route for many years, but as it declined, so did the Mediterranean trade routes. However, the spread of Buddhism and the Byzantine Empire revived the trade route. The laws imposed on these trade routes gave protection to the merchants traveling on it, which led to an increase of trade upon these routes. Cities in Egypt became very important as they became commercial centers for trade, as well as Constantinople, which was the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Next, we have the Trans-Saharan Network. These trade routes grew tremendously partly due to Islam. Islam came to Africa and seemed to encourage trading in that region. Soon caravans were crossing the desert with gold, salt, ivory, and slaves. Next is the Indian Ocean Trade Network. The Indian Ocean was basically the most important of the trade routes in the post-classical period. This was because the number of people and the volume of trade was so large that none of the other trade routes could challenge them for the number one spot. Islam and other religions also played a role in the increase of this trade route because they spread across these networks very quickly. Furthermore, spices became more valuable, which led to an increase in the use of this trade network. An example of this would be the kingdom of Srivijaya, which thrived on the spice trade, which allowed it to spread its Buddhism beliefs. China was also recovering, and it also participated in trading along this trade network, which added even more people and the volume of trade to the network. The Chinese also helped invent new technologies such as the compass, which allowed merchants to figure out how to get places in the maritime trade network. Although not extensive as trade routes in Afro-Eurasia, the people of Mesoamerica and the Andes region developed extensive trade routes as well. These civilizations did not have the advantage of developing these trade routes on rivers as the people in Afro-Eurasia did. Some coastal trade routes did exist, but the Aztecs, Incas, and Mayans mostly did not participate in maritime trade. The civilizations were at an even greater disadvantage as they did not have many beasts of burden, except for llamas and alpacas in the Andes region. Despite these obstacles, the Amerindians made an elaborate system of roads in which they used to travel, trade, and move their armies. The most elaborate road system created in the Americas was by the Inca. It spans about a total of 25,000 miles, and it is clear that trans-regional trade occurred as well. Aztec merchants carried high-value items that had a low weight so they could carry more of their valuable items. Merchants would travel very long distances to sell their item. Some of these items moved over 1,200 miles. In Eurasia, during the period 600 to 1450 CE, interregional trade in luxury goods was revitalized and began to recover from its decline after the fall of Eurasian classical civilizations. Luxury items are actually have a symbolic meaning in societies. As a marker of status, they can show how a society has developed a large surplus and can now focus on more trivial things. The significant increase in luxury trade was a result of many factors. One of them was the creation of the Mongol Khanates, Islamic Caliphate, and the powerful centralized state in China. In most of the areas, improved techniques of production, innovation, and transport all impacted luxury item trade. An example of a luxury item is porcelain. During China's Tang Dynasty, the government standardized this production, which resulted in higher quality and higher amounts produced. Another example of a luxury item was silk. China produced high quality silk that remained a standard of quality throughout the era. Silk production was oversaw directly by Tang and Sui dynasty government to help attempt to keep it a secret. Silk could also be dyed certain colors to denote ranks and social rank. Well, that is it for Key Concept 3.1. Thank you for listening.